if we educate them. So we
So
call
what-
that
what-
getting the frogs out of the well.
So what opportunities will be available to them with a high school education or training?
They could get in for nursing, they could try for anything else, they have certain quotas for them as well. The issue is they've just never been enabled to get educated. And now they're getting a chance of education.
They get a high school
Degree.
equivalence and then leave the country? Does that happen?
Not at their level, because to leave the country also requires a lot of money.
Ah,
Government So you said they'll have a better
Government
life, but
jobs.
what opportunities will they have with that education?
It's like most of the nurses that are with us also are from the lowest caste that are there. They'll get jobs like this.
So
So they'll have money.
So the higher caste people can work on people who, the lower caste, the higher caste people will accept having somebody clean them up, a nurse who's.
Yes, that is there, that they will,
But they'll be able to-
because they don't want to do that job. If you wanted, your janitors and your toilets clean, you're not going to mind who does it. Yes.
You've kind of alluded to, we'll talk about women's issues later, but could that be now? Tell us about the views on women and girls.
So basically, if you think about it, nobody would want a girl child. That's something you don't want. So from the moment that you do have a girl child that is there, you are already doomed. Because number one, that girl child, when she's getting ready to get married off, you have to provide a dowry. First job. So you have to start collecting for your dowry. The bigger dowry you have, the better family she could get married to. You have issues where women are then, of course you can imagine, they don't have any education. So if they don't have any education, they can't bring any income to the family. That's why we also call our nursing degree as a marriage degree. Because once they're enabled and they get a nursing degree, their worth is a lot more. Then if you can just imagine the fact that every time that girl gets sick or she becomes pregnant, the family will work her husband's family will work her away in the house till she's actually ready to deliver. Many a times they will find out, the girl's parents will find out that their daughter is sick and not being taken care of, and will go and pick up the daughter and bring them to the hospital, because that family doesn't want to spend the extra money on that. On top of that, you will have what we call young bride burnings, where the daughter-in-law, the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law are fighting. And basically the mother-in-law is saying, we didn't get enough money for you to come here to our house and live in our house. We need more of a dowry. And the fight will go on and on and on, and eventually it's either out of frustration, she will put kerosene on herself, or it will even sometimes be the mother-in-law who would pour the kerosene and light the match. So we have issues with young bride burnings. Then on top of all this that happens, you must realize that when parents have a delivery of their daughter, they know already that their daughter is not going to help them during their old age. It will only be if they get a son, he will help them, and he will get his wife over there and they will take care of us during our old age. So with all that is happening, the whole of culture is come to the point where women definitely do not have value. So much such that one of the worst curses that we have is the ultrasound machine. So the Supreme Court makes more and more and more rules against each ultrasound machine. So each ultrasound machine that I have, we have to have special permissions for them. We have to, sign in every patient that we do an ultrasound on, we have to have their fingerprint or their signature saying that sex determination is not done. Sex determination is something which is warping the whole male to female ratio in most parts of the country. So it's becoming in a very hard situation. Inspectors will even come to us and they will say, they start looking at our walls. And the reason is because if you have a Hindu doctor who's doing an ultrasound, the patients will say, can you please tell us what the sex is? And he'll say, go and ask my attender. And so they'll ask the attender will say, after he finished the scan, he would have looked at the wall and he would have saluted to whichever god. If it is a male god, it's a male baby, it's a female god, it's a female baby. So it's very difficult to catch anybody in what they're doing as well. There's no written reports. So you are in a situation where it is culture which drives you to a situation where automatically people are discriminated on for what their caste is or for the fact whether they are male or female. But basically all of it is around a lack of education. Yeah.
Are you able to grow a lot of the food on your compound to use for
No, we're not, we can hardly,
growing?
we don't have enough space for that. The numbers are too
So
big.
you have to buy your food?
Yes, we're buying. Yes.
I was, if I understood correctly about the baby bucks, that was used as an incentive to come in for prenatal. And someone made a comment, I think it was when I went to hear a different speaker at the country club church.
Yeah, Gayatri, yeah.
That the husbands are not encouraging their wives to go for prenatal care. Is that
Yeah,
true?
they don't, well, they don't understand the importance of it. Okay, so it's basically understanding the importance of it, and then you have the mother-in-law who says, hey, I just had my kids, 1, 2, 3 at home and I didn't have to do all this. You think you're so special? You just jolly well continue doing the work you're supposed to do and take care of the house and make the food and, why should you get any special care? Yes? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Well, it seems like there was also an issue of maybe they didn't want the doctor to to view their wife or something.
That is an issue in certain parts, especially in Muslim populations. That is in Muslim populations. And so there has been, that reluctance has been there in certain pockets that are there. And they've been able to, that is not so much of a situation in today's India. But definitely if you look at when, the medical college where I went to, it very clearly was an issue, and we're talking about, 1901. So times have changed in that way. Yes.
Talk about the government hospitals and the quacks and that kind of levels of service and why they're so late getting to you.
The thing is when you have something which is so cheap, like a quack who's giving you services and giving you this great story that you're going to get well, and it's going to cost you hardly a dime, then why don't you rely on him and you say, okay, I'm going to get whatever needs to be done. And this quack basically may have been to school till 5th grade or 7th grade. In a lot of the villages, you find out, okay, you ask them, who was the doctor who was taking care of you, and you find out it's usually a school teacher. So you find out a school teacher who's, got his bachelor's or his master's in arts. He basically has just learned how to give injections. He knows what the high antibiotics are, and he knows how to start IV lines. And so in a scenario where 95 to 97% of all diseases are infectious, you hit somebody with a solid antibiotic, which is the latest, boom, one shot, and you get cured. Or you're feeling very weak, it could be during a time of dehydration or whatever, you get one bottle of IV fluids, it brings back the life back in you. And so you become a successful doctor. And that's what happens. So by the time they reach us, they are very sick. And they may have lost consciousness. The quack will eventually say, hey, this has gone over my head, I can't do anything more. And by the time he says that, we're stuck having to take care of them in an ICU.
There's a lot of complaint in the United States, it seems, about needless government regulation. It sounds like there's not a lot of needless government regulation in India.
There's a lot of regulation, probably even more than what you have in the States. However, they can't enforce it because of corruption. So if you come up with something here in the States, so you have the Joint Commission, which is there in hospitals, which makes sure that your services are to a certain standard. Over there, the standards are just about the same. The only thing is nobody's gonna implement them. So they will implement what they want. You can have corporate hospitals which will charge you an arm and a leg for their things. And yes, everything will look beautiful and marble floors and all. But in the end, you could get away from whatever you want by corruption.
The poor people, which are lots, that live in the villages around your hospital and that, what is their economy? Do they have jobs at all, or do they just, how do they live?
So a lot of them are on very small plots of land. They could be an acre or even less than an acre. And that's how they pretty much survive. There are many of them who work on the fields of a landlord. We have many of them now who are going out because they can't support their families anymore because the land has become so small. You know, the situation of every generation, you're going to have your land cut, as many siblings as you have. And so they've reached a point where even the amount of land is not able to support them. So then they get to a situation where they go to cities and find jobs. And they live in even worse situations because they're living in the slums. And many times they get sick over there and then they'll come back to us by train and then we'll have to take care of them. So it's a whole variety of things. There's very little to live off of over there. Yes?
I have a question for Dr. Terry. You're the anesthesiologist,
Yes.
so you are working all the time. And how are you perceived by the local people as a doctor, as a woman? Do you do other jobs when you're not doing surgery?
Yes. In the hospital, along with anesthesia, I'm also doing the other kinds of medicine because it's a small hospital and we got to do everything that comes. So I'm also doing general medicine and a lot of obstetrics and gynecology and pediatrics. And apart from that, being a woman, well, the urban population accepts us very well, but sometimes I find that I've examined a lady, she's come from the village, and I tend to examine for longer periods than I think others. I've examined her, talked to her, got her to do the lab, and then finally she's asking me, okay, so now can I go to the doctor? Sometimes it's like, okay, women cannot be doctors, you know. So I said, what do you think I am? Am I? So those are just the cultural things. But other than that, like, yeah, there are, stuff that we all have to go through, and but generally, as doctors, and women doctors, we do have to cater to more other stuff than male doctors do.
Is the situation about women now better than it was 50 years ago or worse or the same?
Yes, definitely. It's much better.
Much better.
Yeah. And in an educated population, it's much better, and these common things do not occur, and the girls are as good as, maybe better than boys.
That is an educated situation. So you're talking about cities and stuff, but where we are, if we're talking about most of our crowd, it's not there. So the change has just not occurred. And that situation of, actually cooking on fire and wood, that picture could have been, if it wasn't in color, it could have been taken 50 years ago. So the situation is pretty much the same.
What's the alternative to using wood?
You buy gas. Yeah, gas cylinders. So, but you need to pay for it.
Well, I was thinking with as much sunshine as you have in India, I would assume that solar cookers might be.
Solar is one thing that we're looking at, especially for like steam cooking and stuff like that. So we're looking at that already for us. Yeah.
It's another new thing to learn.
Yeah.
Another change.
And solar requires a lot of upfront money to be able to do that. Wood, all you need is 2 bricks and some dead wood sitting on the side to cook your meals. Yes?
The hospital at USAID funded do they just fund it, or do they do architecture and?
No.
Nothing?
They're just funding it, that's all our job. And it's our job to make sure that what proposal we give, we follow exactly that with the timeline and complete the project as we have said we would do.
Who does the construction?
We have construction people. I have a guy who's there on my staff. He's been to say about 5th grade, is about as far as he studied. And so he is able to interpret drawings. So drawings are made by friends usually. And now we've also gotten a hang of how, after so many feet you need a support, and basic understanding we've also gotten now. So we do a lot of it ourselves. But if I need something drawn, I get friends to do it free of charge, and he translates it into building. So that's what we've done with like the school. The school was a friend of ours who actually made the drawing, and we've just put it up.
When do you sleep?
All the time.
I just have one real quick one. You're talking about the fire, because when you said the smoke, and because I know it's an issue there, it's an issue with Korean, it's an issue with Vietnam, of them inhaling the smoke that they cook over the stove. There are, 3 or 4 things I've seen where they're trying to make these new little stoves that will take place of their fire, and they're not dangerous to their health and stuff. Do you guys see any of that?
So the stoves that you saw are all replaced. Those are called smokeless stoves.
Yeah.
So those are all smokeless stoves where you actually have 2 burners instead of 1, and you're trying to use the efficiency of the heat a lot more. So the smoke is less and the burning efficiency is supposed to be a lot more. So yes, those are what you saw. We call them smokeless chulas, smokeless stoves.
Have they accepted that? Because when I was there, you were just giving them out and they didn't really care for them.
They have to now because that's the place, and we insist that they do all their cooking there only.
What does it cost for one of those stoves?
Somewhere between, again, $25 or $30. So they've got, about 12 of them there. But definitely our cooking meals and giving to them has reduced the amount of cooking that goes on. Because if you're given things free, it's much easier than having to go through the thing of actually cooking. And then they know that extra meals can be bought at a very, very low rate, which is
So
even
when you
cheaper than.
provide free meals, where are the free meals cooked?
The place you saw right next to the yellow building, right where they were cooking, there's a place where meals are cooked there as
Oh,
well.
so that was not families cooking, that was staff cooking.
That was families cooking. And then we have, next to that, we have a cafeteria kind of thing where the guy is cooking wholesale.
In volume.
Yes, volume.
Well, I want to thank the Henrys and Sandy and Kenny's husband Bart and all of you to come out. And I think we could keep them here all afternoon. It's just so fascinating. And maybe you could ask questions individually afterwards. But I wanted to point out there's some brochures and some of his cards. And if any of you feel, moved to send money for a baby box or a whatever, that'd be great. I really got attached to the baby box idea. I love that. I want to make that part of my yearly, gift to somebody. Somebody in my family will get a baby box with their name.
Yes.
Because I just think that is so cool and such a wonderful thing. And it is simple, and it apparently makes a big difference. Because I get to come to the hospital 4 times before the baby's born, hopefully.
Yes.
Yes.
So that is the idea. But as I said, I'm very responsive on emails, and I'm in a situation where we believe it's one of our most important things for the work that we do there is the fact that we truly believe that we have a place where people can come to and actually experience what it is to mix with a different culture. And we feel very strongly about that. So we have multiple church groups that are increasing every day, and we feel we don't worry about them coming there at all. It's not a problem to us at all. We have a system in which everything is already, you just land up there and things happen. So it's not as if, you're giving us trouble. But I think that our main reason for being out there is because we are, first of all, sent out by the church. And we're sent out by the church not to be alienated and kept in one corner, but we're sent out of the church to be in continuous communication. So I take it very seriously for people who want to communicate, people who would like to have projects that they would like to get done over there. We'd be very happy. I always have a list of things that are there that we need to do, but most of all, I think that you all should realize that whether you like it or not, through the one great hour of sharing, you're already supporting us as being out there. So that definitely is a way in which we have reached there, and we continue to work on